Welcome to this video on disaster recovery and business continuity data. When performing a security assessment or a security test, so long as it applies, it's important to consider the disaster recovery and business continuity data as part of the test or assessment. And also we want to consider things like backup data as well. Now, if you recall from the previous video, we have talked about business continuity a lot. So I don't want to go too far into it here. But business continuity is about assessing and minimizing the risk to critical business processes in the event of some kind of major disruption, and disaster recovery is the process or procedure that are necessary to recover those critical business processes from a disruption. So a very simple way of thinking about it is business continuity is all about critical business function, disaster recovery, information technology. That's what we want to do with both of these. We want to make sure that we have copies of both business continuity plan and the disaster recovery plan if they exist. Not every company has one, not every organization has the one. Should they have them? Absolutely. Do they have them? Usually not. So we want to make sure that we can get a copy of them. We do. We also want to know what were the result from the latest business continuity or disaster recovery test event. So if we did some kind of test such as parallel test or simulation test or whatever, we want to know what are the result were, what were the outcome of the test. So if we get the business continuity plan or the disaster recovery plan plus the result and they are 2 years old, then we already know that we have some remediation work to do, right? And that's really what we are looking to do here. So as part of the test, we can actually conduct a disaster recovery test along with our security assessment as well. If you recall from the previous video, there is a checklist test which basically every member of the team is going to get a copy of this. They are going to look through it, provide the review and their comments. This is also called read-through test as well. So there's also a structured walkthrough test where all the team members review the plan together in a conference room or in a meeting room of some kind, and that help us to identify any issues. This is also called tabletop exercise, in reference to everyone has the document on the table and we are just kind of walking through it. Now, what was the outcome of this, right? Now, is that going to help our security control? Maybe our security control are focused on the recovery sides, or maybe they are focused on high availability or redundancy, something that's going to relate back to the disaster recovery. How did that work out in that structure walkthrough? Did we discover anything? And did we do anything about that, right? Same with the simulation test, where this is more of a structure walkthrough test of any given scenario, a natural disaster, a man-made disaster, and so on. What were the result of this test? And were there any remedial step that came out of the test? Were that fixed? Were that corrected? Same with the parallel test, where we do everything but disrupt operation. This is when we actually execute procedures and processes. We really test everything. Maybe we spin up recovery side, test the recovery side, but we do not impact operation whatsoever. How did this go? This is probably the place we want to put most of our attention to, is that parallel test or in the full interruption test. This would be the other place we want to take a look at the result, because this is when we actually impact the operation or production and we move off premises. We go to either a recovery site or we go to a cloud-based backup site as well. So what important to know about all these different tests is that not only that what kind of test they are, but what was the outcome of this test? Were the control identified? Were the procedure missed? Were their procedure or processes are missing? Were their control like logical and technical control established? were they missing any part of the remedial steps? Now, as we are going our assessment, maybe the assessment is to verify these things were fixed as a part of that process. So that's what we are considering here. Okay, and then again, with the backup data, we want to gather any of our backup data, our tapes, our disk, our drive, whatever it is, and test this data to make sure that we are meeting the proper retention requirement and that we are going to the right things in archive, meaning we are encrypting at rest and so on. Or what happen if we have a potential loss? How do we recover from that problem? We also want to review any of the backup data loss to determine how often backup are being executed. Are they being done in accordance with the organizational policy? And are they being encrypted while they are at rest, right? So with backup, we have full backup. We want to make sure we test this. These are the complete copy of the data. So we copy everything on the system, both the objects, so all of the files and all that. And then also the user data as well. Then we have the differential backups where we copy any data that's been modified since the last full backup. And then we have incremental backup. This is going to copy all the data modified since the last full or incremental backup. Now, I talked about this in depth in previous video, so I'm not going to go into too much here. So what's most important is, can we recover from this full backup? And are the differential backup picking up the data that was modified since the last full backup? And can we recover from that as well? Same with the incremental. So what's most important is that the backup are being done correctly. And if we are backing up to tapes or drives or what you have, that we are doing proper rotation to make sure that the oldest data is being overwritten first and we are keeping the most current data on file. So the bottom line for this video is to understand the purpose of business continuity and disaster recovery testing. Know the different disaster recovery tests we talk about, understand the purpose of testing the data backups, and know the different data backup methods.